Hey, welcome back to SUA Sports Psychology here on Facebook. I just wanted to thank everybody for your comments with our question that we asked today. The question was, I wanted to know who the most mentally tough person is that you know, and this person doesn't necessarily have to be athletic. And a number of you, as I'm looking at the comments right now, you mentioned the majority of them are people who are non-athletic, not necessarily famous. We have Darlene and Courtney. You talked about your husbands, and you wrote some really nice words about them. Tony Vainuku, good friend of mine, he talked about his mom. Then we have Anita. You talked about Keena, Coach Keena, who I absolutely agree, extremely mentally tough. We have Barrett Johnson, who talked about Michael Jordan, even though he is a Jazz fan. And Kristen Jensen shared some wonderful words about her teacher, her institute teacher. And so I wanted to share with you who I think is mentally tough. Now, I as well could talk about some athletes who we see on ESPN. I could talk about my parents. I could talk about my wife, who is extremely mentally tough as well, who's actually shooting this video for me right now. But as I was thinking today, who epitomizes mental toughness, I think about a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 2-year-old. These are my children, Jerem, Maya, and Eliana. Now, each of them, even though they're so young, they're such great examples of peak performance, and in certain moments of their lives, they've taught me different principles that I go out and I teach to people who I work with and the audiences I speak to. First, we'll start with Eliana. Eliana, she is a great example of self-talk. She uses self-talk very well. So well that it sometimes hurts her. So let me give you an example. One time we sent her to timeout, and she dreads going to timeout. Absolutely dreads it. So she goes there and it's the end of the world. And so she needs to take a look at my catastrophizing video. So she goes there and she's crying her eyes out. And then she uttered the words, "I'm okay. I'm okay." So she's sitting there crying, and then she says, "I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay." Until next thing you know, she was okay. And she wasn't crying anymore. Now, the downside of that was that she was so good at her self-talk is that it started to go back down. And then she says, "I'm not okay. I'm not okay. I'm not okay," until she started crying again. And then, "I'm okay," and then she got herself out of it and then put herself back into it, all with self-talk. And so Eliana is such a great example. She was just sitting there on this emotional roller coaster as her mom and dad. It was kind of funny to hear it, so she stayed in timeout a little bit longer just for entertainment's sake. And then we have Maya. Now, Maya, in sports psychology, there's something called resiliency, the ability to bounce back. Maya is the epitome of this. She'll be crying, or her brother or sister will make her mad, and she'll be just mad at the world. But once somebody says, "I'm sorry," once somebody mends or heals her broken heart, boom, that's okay, and she forgets it. She's able to come back. And as athletes, if you have the ability to bounce back after a strikeout, bounce back after a low judge's score or a fault, a forced error on a tennis court, whatever it might be, you can learn from Maya. She has the ability to bounce back. Maya's incredible. She's on the spot. For example, last night, my wife was bringing them home from the zoo, and she's sitting there talking, and my wife says, "Maya, go to sleep." And this is what Maya does. She closes her eyes, lays back, and she's out for the rest of the night. It's like, who does that? So Maya is a great example of on the spot, just resiliency, the ability to bounce back. Now we have Jerem. Now, there's a theory called the self-efficacy theory. Now, self-efficacy is just a fancy way of saying self-confidence. Now, there are different ways to develop self-efficacy or confidence in people, and one of the ways is vicarious learning. I learned a lesson from Jerem last summer. So last summer, I'm trying to teach him how to play baseball. Every dad, and probably not every dad, but dads trying to teach their son, pass on their athletic prowess. So I was teaching him how to hit. I was teaching him elbow in a slot, palm up, palm down. My 4-year-old's not just going to swing a baseball bat, he's going to do it the right way. In the minute or two I was working with him, his swing actually got worse. And he wasn't progressing, and it was actually getting frustrating. And I ended up saying, "You know what, no more baseball. Go watch Yo Gabba Gabba or something." And he's like, "Oh, Dad, I want to play." And I was starting to get frustrated. And so we ended up playing something else, and we didn't continue. About a week later, I was watching SportsCenter, and they were showing Albert Pujols, a famous baseball player who was taking a swing. The analysts were breaking down his swing, and they're showing his swing over and over and over again. Now, Jerem, as he was walking by the TV, he grabs his bat, and he stands in front of it, the TV, and he says, "Like this, Daddy?" And he takes a beautiful swing. I said, "Jerem, do that again." He goes, "Like this?" And he takes another beautiful swing. And I thought, wow, I'm a good teacher. And I said, "Jerem, who taught you how to swing a baseball bat?" And to my amazement, he turns his head, he looks at the TV, and he points. "He did, Daddy. He did." Now, it taught me a valuable lesson about vicarious learning. If you surround yourself by good examples, if you surround yourself by successful people, believe it or not, that's called vicarious learning, and you can build confidence off of that. And so mental toughness, taught to me, and just principles of mental toughness, taught to me by Jerem, Maya, and Eliana. It's all around. And mental toughness isn't something that you just can read about, but it's something that you do. It's not something that you can just hope for and wish for. It's something that you work on. And so if you're watching this video and you're an athlete or not an athlete, and you want to develop mental toughness, it's something that you will decide to do and decide to take action today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Justin Sua, and thanks for showing your support and your comments here on Sua Sports Psychology.